Welcome back to Rock Some TV News. Our next story brings something a little cosmic to balance out everything happening down here on Earth. Is right now and tomorrow, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune will appear clustered in the sky just before sunrise in what's commonly called a planetary parade. Despite the dramatic name, this isn't a perfect straight line alignment in space. The planets orbit along roughly the same plane and the ecliptic. So from Earth, they appear lined up across the same stretch of sky. 4 of them, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn, can be seen with the naked eye under good conditions. Uranus and Neptune typically require binoculars or a telescope. And what makes this notable is simply how many bright planets are visible together at once before sunrise, creating a rare pre-dawn lineup. Now, astronomically, it's about perspective, but some see meaning in the timing here. Today, we're joined by artist and astrologer Monica Bravo to explore that very perspective. So, Monica, welcome to the show. How are you this morning? Happy Friday. Thanks for joining us.
Hank, how are you? I'm excited to be here.
I'm doing great, and the planets truly aligned to have you here with us today, so we're super excited to get down to business here. And Monica, you've described this moment as a portal, which is a powerful word. So when you look at the current alignment we're seeing, especially this Mars and Uranus tension that you've mentioned, what is it about this specific window that feels different and unique and special to you? I'd love to get your thoughts.
Okay, so here's the thing, just like it's a very big theme, so I'm going to try to narrow it down. So we are on planet Earth, and we have a lot of celestial bodies going around us. So what we measure when we read the archetypes or astrology, we measure the correlation that there is between 2 planets when they join. Like right now, you see them all in the sky pretty much in the same line. It's because they're very close to one another. And when they have different kind of relationships. So every time there's a new cycle, it's almost like a new moon. Something is seeding. Something is about to grow. But the interesting thing is all of these planets right now, but Mars, are in Pisces. And Pisces means the last end of the cycle. So if we think numerology-wise, last year was 2025. It amounts to the number 9. That's the end of a cycle. And this year, 2026, is number 1. But that alone is not enough, nor the alignment of these planets tomorrow, which is it's a big deal, but not really. The big deal is that we're in this eclipse season. We had an eclipse that it was tremendous on February 17th. We're going to have another one on 3rd of March, a few days from now. And this window is actually showing us at the same time with 2 big planets, Saturn and Neptune, met a week ago for the first time in 6,000 years at 0 degrees of Aries. That's the very beginning of the zodiac. This is the beginning where there's nothing. We're just emerging to something new. So the eclipses is telling us, like, what are the things that are not working? Today, Mars in that configuration is squaring Uranus. And that means that there's a lot of shakeup. I mean, you have to look at the news this week. I cannot keep up. I have to be discerning because there's so many things that are shaking up and so many things that are being revealed. Neptune and Saturn in Aries actually is allowing the collective to see things as they are, because we just left pretty much 15 years of numbness, ever since like Instagram, influencers and all these things came on board. We're not seeing what it is, but we're seeing what we want to see. And that includes even Bitcoin, how we relate to it. Yeah. So there's a lot of deception that is being revealed right now. And so what can we do as individuals is see which part of ourselves we're not seeing our truth, which part of ourselves we're still in like the nebulas. Where do we want to take agency to move to the next step so we can see new things for this new beginning? Because this is a great reset. And last but not least, I don't know, I'm anticipating Bitcoin is going to be coming of age next year. So we can talk about it a little bit, because Bitcoin, you can also do a chart and you can say, okay, January 3rd, 2009, 12 p.m. London time, what was going on in the stars. And there's the eclipses always talk about these places where the ecliptic meets the moon, the orbit of the moon and the sun and the earth, where we see it. And so these are portals of change. So when Bitcoin was born, Aquarius was on the north node, meaning that it's all about technology, it's all about leaving traumatic situations. But guess what? By now we're repeating the same thing. Unfortunately, I don't think humans really learn because what we're seeing with all the manipulation in the markets and everything that happened this week with Jane Street and so on and so forth, it's very similar to the subprimes, the behavior, because at the very end, we're reading collective behavior. Markets read how people trade. Astrology reads how you behave, how it's the collective behaving. So I don't know if I spread myself too thin there, but
No, I appreciate you breaking that down. I will admit, though, I am more of a beginner when it comes to astrology. I know the Big Dipper or the North Star. I got those down. But I would love to know more, Monica, about how, when you're looking at what's happening with these planets aligning, how does that relate to the markets and the feelings you get about what's happening now? You said there's a lot of kind of things happening not dissimilar to the 2009 period. So what is it you're seeing right now, and what do you feel like that means for the markets going forward, aside from the fact that we might be in for some turbulence, is kind of what I'm getting?
Yeah, it is true. And that, there's these nodes, they repeat themselves every 18.6 years. And that conjunction that I spoke about is every 36 years. So it's half of that. So at the very end, we're repeating. Go back to the beginning of globalism, 1989, when the Berlin Wall fell. The whole block fell. You were probably a baby. I was alive, living, and so I understood that this was happening. Right now, we're feeling more or less the same thing, that something big is going to happen, but we don't know exactly when, because it doesn't happen in one day. It starts building up. So we're really building up into something. Now, if you keep tracing those every 18 years, and you will meet, for instance, 1971 at one point. Guess what happened then? You will meet 1933. Guess what happened? So on and so forth. So what you do I do read markets, not because I'm a trader. My aim when I grow up, I want to be a technical analyst, a part of being an artist. I mean, you tell me, my mind is crazy, so I like to understand behavior. So what you see is that things correlate with time, and then you look at events and you go, oh, it's not that the planets are making this happen or we're making happen. We're aligned. This is a wavelength. We are energy, and energy is read in vibration and in wavelength. So that's what it is aligning. So I feel that what's happening right now for the future, for the next few months, and what I've been really investigating these days is that when you look at the chart of Bitcoin and Inception, it had two planets that they were opposing one another. Saturn is the dad, the authority, the one that is all about institutions, was in Virgo. Virgo is about discernment. It's about making things right. And it was in the second house, that means money, value. Okay, so that's what really Bitcoin came to say. Hey guys, you got to be accountable. You have to be discerning. You have to see that value is subjective, and we're going to put into that. But has another planet in Pisces, that is Uranus, that is the one that is the liberator. So the liberator is in Pisces in the 8th house, which is common values, the things that you marry to. It's very eruptive. It says, of course, we're going to change the world, cyberpunks and everything. But at the very end, it takes like the direction of wanting to be close to the divine. So it makes it almost devotional, this idea of breaking. But what is creating in the chart is this opposition, like a full moon, where both things need to be balanced. Now, since the inception of the ETF, January 2024, I'm going to tell you like in a metaphor. All families used to marry for convenience. So there was always the guy who is the big guy who wants to marry a young maiden. And he takes a bride. And the bride is very young, but she sees that this is an opportunity to gain some power, some standing in society. So Bitcoin is the young maiden that married the old man. But when Bitcoin came into the household, she's not the only maiden. There's some crypto, there's some gold, there's some other assets. And so now she's trying to negotiate the space, but she sees there's no space because the old man is used to abuse. So Bitcoin wanted so much to be validated that joined the big man. And right now we're there seeing, oh my God, we got into Bitcoin, then we got into the ETFs, everything that runs over there with derivatives, futures and options is a very different game. And I don't think the normal common Bitcoiner understands the market, and they should, because they give their power away. So again, it's the little girl that yearns to be in this beautiful house, but when she is in the house, she has no power. Bitcoin has no power right now. Like the normal Bitcoiner just sees the price go down without understanding what it is. And it is because it's being repressed. Now, good thing is that things are being revealed. So we see where the repression is. But are we as humans going to learn something, or we're still going to be, propelled by greed?
Right. Well, I'd be curious, Monica, the last 5 or so months in the Bitcoin space, we've seen some pretty dramatic changes, specifically with the price action, although the fundamentals seem very similar to they were just 5 months ago. So my question to you is, were there any signs or indicators you were seeing in the sky that would have maybe led you to believe that we could have seen that big drawdown before it happened, outside of the, semi-predictable Bitcoin cycles we've experienced over the years?
Yeah, obviously, because we were, before Saturn and Neptune conjuncted a week ago, they were in a balsamic relationship. That means that the planet that is about responsibility, accountability, was closing and getting close to the one that is full of illusions and delusions. So guess what? A lot of people started lending, especially the people who are losing all their coins in collateral, people who don't see reality. So I knew that a lot of the things that we're witnessing in the collective half of them are illusions, and they're delusions. So I knew that we were going to be pretty rug pull one way or another. And I said from the very beginning of those, people offering lending, I'm like, you don't do that. Even if one person does it because it works for him, we don't need to name names. Everybody else is running to do it. I mean, he has done the math. He's an engineer, so let him have his chicken, and eat it. But do we as normal? And I've heard so many people in the Bitcoin space, really, really gambling. So I knew that was what's going to happen. I saw it coming. And then when I read markets, see how it's so controlled. Even though, for instance, last year we were sideways, but if you look at the price, right now we're 67,400, right? But we were 109 in December 24, a little bit over the 100.
Yeah.
And then it went down to 74 on April 7. And it had a lot to do with eclipses as well, but I'm not going to get into that. So you can see with eclipses what's happening. This week we're into eclipses, so things might change. FTX was during an eclipse. Terra Luna was during an eclipse. So if you look at eclipses, they mark changes in behavior, because this is what we're seeing. Now, 74,000 in April met 300 days later, I can't remember, it was January, had the same price. So I'm not so shocked that things are going so low and so high. Even though they're being repressed and manipulated, the market doesn't work on a straight line. That's what people have to understand, that the equilibrium is a process. So we're also reflecting that. So what I think that is going to happen, I'm not going to predict price, but I will see that there's a bull market coming. Wait until the summer. We're going to go up and down because the market is always correcting itself. And if those things that were revealed this week are true, maybe we're going to see less repression. But are we going to kill everybody who's doing derivatives? I mean, I have a lot of friends that do that. Am I going to go to their house and go, stop doing it? I mean, these people, that's what they do for a living. The thing is that what it happens is brings light to the commoner to see if it's better to have a coin in a cold wallet or have it as an ETF. I think this is what people have to understand, that paper Bitcoin is not Bitcoin. And that's what is being manipulated. So it's just about education. It's education.
Yeah. No, absolutely. We appreciate you sharing both your technical analysis combined with what the writing in the stars is, because we're thinking what it sounds like you're telling me, and let me just make sure I'm getting this accurately, Monica. It's like we're going to see some crab walking for probably the foreseeable future, but the second half of this year, it seems like the planets and stars are aligning for Bitcoin. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, but the thing is that Bitcoin doesn't act alone.
Right.
Bitcoin needs every Bitcoiner. So every decision we make that is sound, that is accountable, that has a purity to it, is going to affect the behavior of Bitcoin. But if I'm greedy and I'm just going to do whatever great people do, that's the outcome. So, but I'm telling you, astrologically, this is great because we had the big conjunction, but we have by May, June this year, we're going to have a lot of things changing. The world's going to be so different because we're going to have Uranus enter Gemini. We saw it a little bit last summer. And so that's why the whole like eruption of AI and everybody wanting to have an agent this week is crazy. It's like people don't need to have an agent if they don't even know what AI is for. But that's the stupidity that I see, that people don't learn about technology and understand what is technology for. Learn about Bitcoin to see what Bitcoin is for and who are you giving money to, right? Like the big man in the house, or you're supporting the young bride that has no idea who she married, you know?
Right.
So that's what I see. But I do see that there's a big opening of awareness. There's a lot of clarity, and the more you are clear and true to your own delusions, the better off for Bitcoin. But it depends on each one of us, because Bitcoin belongs to the people. It's a very open source, and it gives value to the people who want to give value to. There's no boss. We know that. So
yeah. No, I totally agree with you, and people need to do their own research. And, I've talked to hundreds of Bitcoiners, and it's always the same process. They read about it, they kind of dismiss it at first, they come back to it, they do the homework, and then they realize, like, how did I not see this the first time? So it's a very common thread, and that actually ties into what I want to talk about next. I want to talk about this story with you we have about what's going on with Indiana lawmakers in Bitcoin. So stay tuned, Monica. I'm going to bring you back in just a second, because currently in the state of Indiana, we have lawmakers have passed a bill advancing legislation that would allow public retirement and savings plans to offer Bitcoin exposure through regulated exchange-traded funds. And the bill now heads to Governor Mike Braun's desk, where it's expected to be signed. Now, it is important to clarify that what this legislation actually does. You see, the bill does not require the state to allocate pension funds into Bitcoin, nor does it mandate direct custody by state officials. Instead, it permits public employees to access Bitcoin ETFs through self-directed brokerage accounts within existing retirement structures, meaning that participation would be optional and handled through regulated financial products. Now, Indiana is not acting alone on this. You see, recent months have seen a wave of state-level proposals, including digital asset reserve initiatives in Kansas, reserve frameworks in Florida, and strategic reserve discussions in Missouri and West Virginia that could include Bitcoin alongside gold and silver. The pattern suggests that the debate has evolved from whether Bitcoin should exist to how it should be integrated responsibly into public finance. We're bringing Monica back. Monica, what stands out to you about Indiana's approach here? Not mandating Bitcoin, not forcing the state to custody it, but quietly allowing regulated ETF access inside of retirement accounts. What are your initial thoughts on this? I know you're not super into the ETFs. We know it's not really holding Bitcoin. What do you make of this? Is this progress, or maybe something else because the ETFs are involved? What are your thoughts?
Well, it's again disguising the bride or the husband as like, oh, this is a great potential. We're being backed up by like government. I mean, hello, Bitcoiners, government, Bitcoin, it doesn't work. So this is an interesting and sad thing. Bitcoin has always been longing to be accepted, to be adopted, but it has given itself its own power away to the institutions that all they do is manipulate. I wouldn't trust government right now until I don't see a lot of people in prison. I wouldn't because all they do is steal money from the people who still, signed the annual contract on 14 or 15 of April, Some people do, some people don't. So it's interesting. It is all about the disguise. So what we have to look is like, what's behind the intention and not what we're listening to. I learned that when I trained in martial arts. You do not, like they say, oh, adoption. Oh, we're going to have a power of engaging with the asset directly. Yeah, but it's still paper Bitcoin. It's still paper Bitcoin.
Right. No, you're totally right. And I'd be curious, what are your thoughts on us now starting to see multiple states exploring reserve frameworks and digital asset legislation for Bitcoin and others? Like, do you think that this is a step forward, or, does this maybe risk us like co-opting Bitcoin with the very things it was, kind of supposed to be against, the institutional money, government printing? Like, what are your thoughts on how we're seeing Bitcoin kind of merged into traditional finance? Is that a good thing? Was it always inevitable, or is that maybe bad for Bitcoin in the long term? Where do you land?
I think
Monica?
I think we need a prenup.
We need a prenup.
Yeah, because Bitcoin is the most valuable asset out there, and people are just painting it as like part of the system. No, it is not. But Bitcoiners are
Yeah.
giving it away, so we need to understand what does that mean. And it's not adoption. I'm sorry, it's not adoption, and it's not gonna save anybody. Government doesn't save anybody.
Right. No, you're very true. And, Monica, you have such an interesting and unique view of the world in Bitcoin. And I got a feeling it's definitely resonated with at least a couple of our viewers here this morning. So if there are more people in our audience that said, you know what, I really like the cut of Monica's jib and I want to see what she's up to and learn more of what she's doing, what's the best place I can send them so they can see whatever you're covering, whatever hot takes you might have in the business? Because I got a feeling you've got an audience that's waiting to get more from you.
Well, thank you so much for that. Yeah, I write on my blog in Substack. It's called monicabravo.blog. And I have separated, like I write a lot of personal stuff because I'm very much into personal development and seeing how I can evolve as a human being. But I write with storytelling, a little bit like, with the maiden that gets married. That's my style of writing.
Yeah.
Then not long ago, like 6 months ago, I started as an accountability system to write about the markets, to read the charts and share. But now I'm sharing because that's when I started realizing everything was so like, this is not really working. I'm looking at the markets every day and writing about it. Like, what is this red candle? And then I started reading about other people and saying, oh, I have to investigate. And so I spent hours investigating the behavior, because at the very end is that. So I have that. And then from time to time, like I get on podcasts and stuff like that. So I share that there. But yeah, you can just get there. If you want to have a reading with me, I do personal reading. So there's a lot. If you just want to have fun, you can also contact me because I love jokes. So
I love it. I love it, Monica. Well, we've absolutely had a blast having you here at Roxham TV News. So I really want to thank you for lending your time and your insights and expertise with us this morning. It's been a real blast, and I hope you have an amazing weekend, and we hope to see you again real soon.
Yes, thank you, Hank. Enjoy the shaky atmosphere, because the last thing I'm going to say, the last thing I'm going to say, when there is movement, there is evolution. So when there is tension, is an opportunity to evolve. This is where we are right now.
I love it.
Okay.
It's a great note to end on. I love it. Thank you, Monica, so much, and have a great weekend. We'll see you next time.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Thank you. All right, we're taking a break here.